Before you read another word tonight, I want you to set down whatever version of yourself you have been carrying into this moment. Set down the tired one, the disappointed one, the one who has quietly decided that maybe this is just who you are now. I did not write that version of you. I want to speak to the real one, the one underneath the exhaustion, because that is the one I have always been in relationship with. There is a question that has been circling in your mind for longer than you have admitted, even to yourself. It sounds something like this. Is this really who I am? Or is this just who I became after everything that happened to me? My child, I want you to hear this clearly. What life has done to you, and who I made you to be, are not the same thing, and I refuse to let the first one keep speaking louder than the second. You have collected so many labels over the years, some given by others, some you handed to yourself in moments of despair. Too much, not enough, broken, behind, difficult to love. I want you to understand that none of those words came from me. I do not speak in the language of condemnation. When I look at you, I am not cataloging your failures. I am recognizing my own handiwork, unfinished, yes, but never discarded. Think about how a sculptor works. From the outside, the process looks like loss. Marble falls away in pieces, chips scatter across the floor. If you only watched the falling pieces, you would think something was being destroyed. But the sculptor is not destroying anything. He is revealing the shape that was always inside the stone. Every season of your life that has felt like loss, like something being chipped away from you, has actually been part of a shape emerging. You are not the debris on the floor. You are the form taking shape beneath it. I know there are memories you carry that still make you wince, decisions you made in seasons of pain that you now look back on with shame, relationships you let define you that should never have had that much power over your sense of worth. I am not asking you to pretend those things did not happen. I am asking you to stop letting them write the final word about who you are. A single chapter, however painful, is not the whole book, and I am still writing. There is a particular kind of quiet suffering that comes from believing you are somehow too much for the people around you, or not enough for the room you are standing in. You have learned to shrink certain parts of yourself, to soften your voice, to hold back the fullness of who you are, because somewhere along the way, someone made you feel that too much of you was a burden. My child, I did not make you to be smaller. I made you exactly the size you are for a reason. If someone could not hold the whole of you, that was never a flaw in you. It was simply a mismatch between the space they had and the person I created. I want to talk to you about the difference between hiding and healing, because I think you have confused the two for a long time. Hiding feels like protection. It feels safe to keep the wounded parts of yourself locked away where no one, including me, can see them clearly. But hiding does not heal anything. It only delays the pain, buries it under layers of performance and distraction, until it resurfaces in ways you did not expect, at moments you did not choose. Healing requires something much harder than hiding. It requires you to bring the wound into the light, into my presence, and let me actually touch the places you have spent years protecting. I know that feels frightening. You have learned, through experience, that vulnerability is often met with carelessness, that the people you opened up to did not always handle what you gave them with the gentleness it deserved. So you built walls, reasonable walls, walls that made sense given what you had been through. But I am not asking you to tear those walls down for just anyone. I am asking you to let me in, because I have never once handled your heart carelessly, even in the seasons when it felt like I was far away. There is a lie that has taken root in you, and I want to name it directly so you can recognize it when it speaks again. It says that your value is tied to your usefulness, that you matter only as long as you are producing, achieving, helping, performing. Under that lie, rest feels like danger, because rest means you are not currently proving your worth to anyone. My child, that lie has exhausted you in ways you have not even fully measured yet. I did not create you to be a machine of output. I created you as a person, with an identity that exists whether you accomplish anything today or not. Your worth was never up for negotiation based on your productivity. I want you to notice how differently I speak to you than the voice you have grown used to hearing in your own head. That inner voice is harsh. It keeps a detailed record of every mistake, every awkward moment, every time you fell short of who you wanted to be. It rarely offers you grace, and when it does, The grace comes with conditions attached. That voice is not mine. I do not speak that way to the people I love. I correct, yes, because love sometimes requires correction, but I do not condemn. There is a difference, and I want you to learn to tell them apart, because you have been mistaking one for the other for far too long. Let me tell you something about the seasons you consider your greatest failures. I have not filed them away as evidence against you. I have used them, every single one, as raw material for compassion you would not otherwise have. The person who has never struggled cannot comfort someone who is struggling with any real depth. But you, because of what you have walked through, carry a kind of understanding that cannot be taught in a classroom or read in a book. It can only be earned through the very pain you wish had never happened to you. I am not saying the pain was good. I am saying I have not let it go to waste. I know you have looked at other people's lives and wondered why theirs seemed to move so smoothly, while yours has felt like a series of setbacks and slow recoveries. My child, you are not seeing the whole of anyone else's story. You are seeing a curated surface, a highlight reel, while you are living inside the full, complicated reality of your own life, with access to every difficult detail. That is not a fair comparison, and it never has been. Stop measuring your unseen struggles against someone else's visible successes. You are not behind. You are simply walking a path that has not been shown to you in full yet. There is a particular ache that comes from feeling forgotten, from wondering if the dreams you once carried so boldly have quietly expired somewhere along the way while no one, including you, was paying attention. I want to address that ache directly. Nothing I have placed in you has an expiration date. The timing may look different than you imagined. The shape it takes may surprise you, but the calling itself has not evaporated simply because the path toward it became longer and harder than you expected. I do not plant seeds only to let them die from neglect. I am still tending what I planted in you, even during the seasons that felt fallow and empty. I want to speak now about the anger you have not fully allowed yourself to feel, because I know it is there, quiet and unacknowledged beneath the surface of your patience. You are angry about things that happened to you that should not have happened. You are angry at people who hurt you and never faced consequences for it. You are angry, sometimes, even at me, for allowing certain things to unfold the way they did. My child, I can hold your anger. It does not frighten me, and it does not damage our relationship. What damages it is when you swallow that anger and let it calcify into something colder and more permanent, like resentment or numbness. Bring the anger to me honestly. I would rather wrestle with your honest fury than receive your polished, dishonest calm. There is a kind of freedom that comes from finally admitting the things you have been too ashamed to say out loud, even in prayer. You have censored yourself with me, offering only the version of your feelings that sounds acceptable, spiritual, composed. I already know the uncensored version. I have always known it. The only thing your censorship accomplishes is keeping you from experiencing the relief of being fully known and still fully loved. I am not asking you to perform faith for me. I am asking you to bring me the real, unedited state of your heart, because that is the only version I can actually work with. I want to tell you about restoration, because I think you have a narrower picture of it than what I actually intend. You imagine restoration as a return to exactly who you were before the wound, as though healing simply reverses the damage and puts you back to some earlier, untouched version of yourself. That is not how I restore. I do not erase what happened to you. I integrate it. The scar remains, but it becomes part of a stronger structure, not a permanent weakness. What I am building in you is not a return to who you were. It is the emergence of someone new, someone shaped by both the wound and the healing, someone with a depth that the untouched version of you never could have had. I know it is difficult to trust a process you cannot fully see the outcome of. You want proof before you commit further trust, evidence before you risk hoping again. I understand that desire, but faith by its very nature requires you to trust the process before the outcome is visible. If I showed you the whole picture now, you would not need faith at all, and faith is precisely the thing I am cultivating in you through this uncertain season. The very discomfort you feel, not knowing how this ends, is doing something in you that certainty never could. I want to speak to the part of you that has grown weary of trying to explain yourself to people who have already decided who you are. You have spent so much energy defending your character, correcting misunderstandings, trying to make people see the truth of your intentions. My child, you do not need to win every argument about your own worth. Some people will hold on to their version of you regardless of what you say or do, and that is a burden you were never meant to carry. Let me be your defender in those situations. I see the truth clearly, even when others refuse to. There is a quiet, steady work happening in you right now, even in the ordinary, unremarkable moments of your day, the moments that do not feel spiritual or significant at all. Washing dishes while your mind wanders toward worry, sitting in traffic while frustration builds, lying awake at night replaying conversations you wish had gone differently. I am present in those moments too, not just the dramatic ones. I am shaping your character in the mundane as much as in the miraculous, and I do not want you to dismiss those small, ordinary hours as though nothing important is happening in them. I want you to consider the possibility that the very things you are most ashamed of might one day become the source of someone else's hope. Not because your pain was good, but because your survival of it, your continued willingness to keep showing up despite it, becomes proof to someone else that survival is possible. I do not waste anything in your story. What feels to you like a wound too ugly to ever be useful, I intend to use as a bridge for someone else who is standing exactly where you once stood, wondering if they will make it through. My child, I want you to release the pressure you have placed on yourself to have everything figured out before you can move forward. You have been waiting for clarity, for certainty, for a complete map before taking the next step, and that waiting has kept you frozen longer than necessary. Faith rarely comes with a complete map. It comes with enough light for the next step, and then the step after that, and then the one after that. You do not need to see the whole road tonight. You only need enough courage to take one more step in the direction I am leading you. I also want to gently correct something in how you have been praying lately. You have been asking me to remove the discomfort, to fix the circumstances, to make the difficulty disappear entirely. There is nothing wrong with asking for relief, and I hear those prayers. But I want you to also ask a different question sometimes. What are you trying to teach me in this? What do you want me to become through this, rather than simply out of this? That shift in posture, from demanding removal to inviting transformation, will change the way you experience even the hardest seasons. I know you have wondered, in your most honest moments, whether you are actually capable of the things I have called you toward, whether the dream is simply too large for someone as flawed and inconsistent as you feel yourself to be. My child, I have never called anyone because they were already capable. I call people because I intend to make them capable through the calling itself. The size of the assignment was never meant to match your current strength. It was meant to stretch you into a strength you do not yet have, but will have, by the time you actually need it. There is a version of your future that I can see clearly, even though you cannot see it yet from where you are standing. In that future, you look back at this exact season, the one that feels so heavy and uncertain right now, and you recognize it as one of the most important turning points of your entire story. Not because the circumstances were pleasant, but because this was where you learned to trust me in the dark, and that trust became the foundation for everything that came after. So tonight, my child, I am asking you to let go of the smaller, wounded story you have been quietly telling yourself, and to let me remind you of the larger one. You are not defined by what was done to you. You are not disqualified by what you have done in your weakest moments. You are not too far gone, too broken, too inconsistent, or too late. You are being restored, piece by piece, in a process that is slower than you would like, but more thorough than you can currently imagine. I have not forgotten a single tear you have cried in private. I have not overlooked a single night you almost gave up, but chose, somehow, to keep going. I am not distant from your pain. I am woven into the very fabric of it, working even now to bring beauty out of what feels, to you, like only ashes. I want to speak now about the people you have loved and lost, whether through death, distance, or simply the slow drift that happens when two lives grow in different directions. There is a grief in you that you have not fully allowed yourself to feel, because grieving felt like it would take too long, or hurt too much, or make you seem weak to the people watching you hold everything together. My child, grief is not weakness. It is the natural cost of having loved something real. I do not ask you to rush through it or perform recovery before you are ready. I sit with you in it. I have never once been impatient with your sorrow, even when you have been impatient with yourself for still feeling it. There is also a particular loneliness that comes from being surrounded by people and still feeling unseen, unknown in any real depth. You can be in a room full of conversation and laughter and still feel like no one there actually knows the weight you are carrying. I want you to understand that I am not on the outside of that loneliness looking in. I am inside it with you, even in the moments when no human being fully understands what you are going through. I do. Not in a distant theoretical way, but with the kind of intimate knowledge that comes from having formed you, having watched every day of your life unfold, having counted the number of your days before you ever lived a single one of them. I know you have wrestled with the question of whether you are truly known or only tolerated, whether the people closest to you love the real you or a curated version you present because you are afraid the real one would be too much to handle. That fear has kept you at arm's length from real intimacy, even in relationships that could have gone deeper if you had let them. My child, I want to be the safe place where you practice being fully known without editing yourself first. I already see everything, the parts you are proud of and the parts you would rather hide, and my posture toward you has not changed because of any of it. Let that safety with me become the training ground for greater honesty with the people you trust in your life. I want to address the specific temptation to measure your spiritual life by how you feel in any given moment. There are days when you feel close to me, alive, certain, and there are days when you feel nothing at all, when prayer feels like speaking into an empty room, and worship feels like going through motions you no longer connect with emotionally. My child, my presence in your life was never dependent on your ability to feel it. Feelings are real, but they are not the most reliable measure of truth. I am with you on the days you feel it vividly, and on the days you feel nothing whatsoever. The absence of feeling is not the absence of my presence. It is simply a season where faith is doing its quiet work beneath the surface of your emotions. There is a subtle exhaustion that comes from trying to maintain an image, even a spiritual one, the appearance of someone who has it together, who trusts easily, who never doubts, who always responds with grace. I want to release you from the burden of that image. I did not ask you to be a flawless representative of faith. I asked you to be honest, to keep showing up even in your doubt, to keep bringing me your real questions instead of the polished ones you think I want to hear. The people who inspire me most are not the ones who never struggled. They are the ones who struggled honestly and kept walking anyway. I want to speak about the comparison trap you fall into when you look at other believers whose faith seems effortless, whose lives seem to move from blessing to blessing without the friction you experience. My child, you are not seeing their private battles. Everyone carries something unseen, some quiet wrestling match happening beneath the surface that never makes it into the version of themselves they present publicly. Comparing your fully known struggle to someone else's carefully managed appearance will always leave you feeling like you are failing at something no one else is actually succeeding at either. Let go of that comparison. Your race was never meant to be run against anyone else's pace. There is a promise I want to remind you of, though I will not quote it to you exactly as it has been translated in any particular book, because I want you to hear the heart of it directly from me. Long ago I spoke to my people through a prophet and told them that the plans I had for them were plans for their good, not their harm. Plans to give them a future and a hope, even in the middle of what felt like exile and loss. That promise was not only for them. It has always applied to every soul I have ever loved, including you, including this exact season you are walking through right now. I do not change my character based on which century you were born into. What I said then, I still mean now. I want to talk about anxiety, because I know it has become a near constant companion for you, whispering worst-case scenarios into quiet moments, stealing peace from situations that have not even happened yet and may never happen at all. My child, anxiety is not a sign of weak faith. It is often simply the mind trying to protect you by preparing for every possible danger. But I did not design you to live under that constant weight of preparation for disaster. I want to teach you to bring each specific worry to me by name, rather than letting them accumulate into a vague, overwhelming cloud. Name the fear. Speak it to me directly. I can handle the specifics far better than you can handle the vague, formless dread of imagining everything at once. I want you to notice how often you apologize for things that do not require an apology, how quickly you take responsibility for other people's moods, other people's disappointments, other people's unmet expectations of you. My child, You are not responsible for managing everyone else's emotional experience of you. You are responsible for your own integrity, your own honesty, your own obedience to what I have asked of you. Release the exhausting habit of shrinking yourself to keep everyone else comfortable. Some discomfort in others is simply the natural result of you finally taking up the space I always intended for you to occupy. There is a strength in you that has been forged specifically through the seasons you consider your weakest. I want you to look back, just for a moment, at the version of you who survived what once felt unsurvivable. That version of you did not know, at the time, that she or he would make it through. And yet you did. That same strength, tested and proven in the past, has not left you. It is still available to you now, in whatever this current season requires of you. You are more resilient than the anxious voice in your head gives you credit for. I want to speak directly to the shame that attaches itself to needing help, to asking for support, to admitting that you cannot carry everything alone. Somewhere along the way, you absorbed the idea that needing others is a form of failure, that the strongest version of you is the one who never asks, never leans, never admits weakness out loud. My child, that is not strength. That is isolation disguised as independence. I created you to need community, to need support, to need people who can carry parts of the load when you cannot carry it alone. Asking for help is not a departure from faith. It is often the clearest expression of it, an admission that you were never meant to do this by yourself. I know there are dreams you have quietly stopped speaking about, not because you no longer want them, but because saying them out loud and then watching them fail to materialize felt too painful to repeat. So you have gone silent about the things you hope for, protecting yourself by pretending you no longer care. My child, I want you to find the courage to speak your hopes again, even the ones that feel foolish, even the ones you are embarrassed to still be carrying after all this time. Silence does not protect a dream. It only isolates it from the very prayer and community that could help sustain it through the waiting. I want you to understand something about timing that I do not think you have fully grasped yet. The delay you are experiencing is not evidence that the dream was wrong. Some of the most significant things I have ever done in a person's life required years of preparation that looked, from the outside, like nothing was happening at all. The visible harvest is always preceded by an invisible planting season, and that season, though it produces no immediate fruit, is not wasted time. It is the necessary foundation for everything that comes after it. Trust the unseen work even when it produces no visible results yet. There is a peace I want to offer you tonight that does not depend on your circumstances changing first. I know you have been waiting for peace to arrive, after the problem is solved, after the relationship is repaired, after the health concern resolves, after the finances stabilize. My child, I do not want you to wait that long. I am offering you peace now, in the middle of the unresolved situation, not as a denial of its difficulty, but as a steady presence that can coexist with an unsolved problem. You do not need everything fixed to receive this peace. You only need to receive it as a gift I am offering you exactly where you are standing right now. So, my child, let this be the night you stop carrying the smaller, harsher story about yourself and start letting me remind you of the truer one. You are not what happened to you. You are not the labels others placed on you in their own confusion or hurt. You are not disqualified by your doubt, your fatigue, your unanswered questions, or your unfinished healing. You are being restored, deliberately, patiently, piece by piece, in a process I have never once abandoned, not for a single day. Hold on to me a little longer, my child, not because the healing is finished, but because it is further along than you realize, and I am not done writing your story. I am here. I have always been here, and what I began in you, I will carry all the way to completion.